This is Tim.
This is Jason.
And this is Critiquing Comics. Welcome to Critiquing Comics, the first of this year. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen in terms of order, but it's January 2022. We still have COVID-19 floating around. I'm here in Tokyo. Jason's in Oregon? Yeah, Portland.
I'm in my living room, having a Manhattan.
No, you're not in Manhattan.
I'm drinking a Manhattan.
I know.
In Portland.
It's better than drinking a Portland in Manhattan, I guess.
Yeah, I'll drink anywhere. I'm not picky. I'm not regional. Go Mets.
Okay, so let's dig into this comic. So this was sent to us by the writer, who is Brandon Hayes, an associate of Chad Bilyeu, also known as Chad in Amsterdam, who Mulele and I have talked about numerous times.
And where is Chad located?
In Amsterdam.
Oh, interesting.
Like Netherlands. Yeah, he's been living there quite a while. So, but Brandon mentions that he has been struggling with bipolar disorder most of his life, and that seems to be reflected in the comic. And he said that this comic, Thready, is a mini-series of 7 days, 7 issues. So this one that he sent us is Monday. And I guess Thready is this kind of character who looks like a gorilla wearing a mask.
I would say he's more like a big, furry, badger-like creature.
Yeah, I guess the build is...
He's got pants on, too. I mean, don't be weird. He's got pants. He's got pants on and a mask. And on the cover, he's got shoes. But the cover was drawn by somebody else.
Right, yeah. The cover was drawn by Chris Anderson, the interior artist by Utku Javaska.
And I know Chris Anderson. Chris Anderson is, we have a lot of mutual friends, and Chris did a pinup for me and Greg Hinkle in Nocturnal Commissions. He did a really great piece for us. So just a really sweet guy. And he mostly works in the horror genre with my friend Dave Acampo. So I recognized his artwork right away on the cover. I was really happy to see him here. Also, I would just say, like, just looking at the cover, right? Like, that's your point of entry on any new project. The art, the cover is really, I think the cover is good. And it's got a really nice logo. It's got a really professionally done logo and cover. I wish I got a better look at the main character on the cover. And I'm curious why the art style of the cover, Chris Anderson's artwork, is kind of similar to the artwork that's inside. Yeah. So I wonder, I wonder what the cover would have looked like if the interior artist had drawn it. But Chris is a great artist, and I hope he does all of it. If they continue this is one of 7. I bet you Chris will do all of the covers.
Yeah, maybe. But the interior art I thought was pretty good too. I didn't have any complaints about Utku Javaska's art.
All right, you go first. I have thoughts, and I'm sure you have thoughts.
Okay. So
Tim, what happens in this book?
So the interior art is all black and white. What happens in this book? That's my problem with it. Not very much. So this guy, I'm not sure what his name is. He's driving Thready to treatment, counseling. I forgot what the recap page says. Their scheduled appointment, it says. So, and Thready hasn't been feeling too well, which was kind of the main point of this issue, I thought, that we see him in various states of not feeling well. And it's broken up by some color, like fake ads, which are like real. I assume that they're fake ads. I was a little confused by it. Some of them are clearly fake, where it's just saying, like, the product's name is Moderation. It says intrusive thoughts, mood swings, paranoia, try all things in ... moderation in big letters. Now available at your local pharmacy. So that was clearly just a fake ad. The others I was a little less clear on. Although this one for Gorgeous Counseling Center has no contact information, so presumably it's not real.
Well, yeah, none of them are real. I think what is happening is, so I took a look. I always do this with projects. I always count how many pages there are. And there are 12 pages of comic book content and 12 pages of like other content. Plus the cover, I didn't count the cover. So with the cover, there would be 13. So there's 12 interior pages. And I think what the writer, what the team is going for is to sort of mimic how it feels to be bipolar. And like you're going in one direction and now you're in you've been pulled out of the story, the thread, Thready, and then you're pulled back into the story. And then just as you're getting your foothold, you're pulled out for a distraction. Some sort of ad. I think moderation is, I don't know a whole lot about being bipolar, but I do understand that moderation is sort of something that you hear in counseling in general. It's something that I have been told by many a therapist. Everything in moderation, right? That's a sort of a healthy lifestyle. Don't be bound, be driven, swim. I think a lot of these ads are meant to address what it's like to be bipolar. The other one is about drowning, and you should swim, not drown. I mean, I think the metaphor is really clear there. You can be overcome with your own brain, your own chemistry set. So I think that is, it's not hitting you over the head, but I think that's what they're trying to accomplish, which I think is clever.
Okay, that makes sense. I did appreciate the joke about ruining your comic book. That was nice.
To your point, though, some of it does feel like padding. Like the ad to buy the T-shirt, it does feel like you're sort of padding a book out. But also, when we read comic books as a kid, you sort of look at the ads and skim over them. Right?
Oh, yeah. Sometimes you'd pay as much attention to the ads as to the comic. Right. And then in the last part, it seems like Thready is flirting with or being flirted with by his ride's girlfriend or wife.
I didn't see that as a flirtation. I saw that as a bonding moment. So I believe this is, so no one has any names except for Thready. You really only get that from the cover. So Thready's having some gastrointestinal issues throughout the comic, and his counselor or the person who's driving him around takes him back to his place and then has to split, and then his partner or the female character is then going to drive Thready. And there's always this insinuation that Thready's having a big week, but we don't really get any context of what that could be. Or what about it is overwhelming. Although I'll tell you, like having a full day planner, like I'll show you my day planner. Having a full day planner in and of itself can give me sort of anxiety. So if his week, I would like more context into what is happening in this upcoming week and why that is, what is causing him stress and agitation. I think that would help us have a little bit more empathy for Thready. But I didn't take it as a flirtation at all. I took it as a bonding moment where she has a medical issue or something has happened in her past, and she's sharing that with Thready. And I saw it as a reaching across to make Thready feel less alone. I didn't see it as a flirtation at all.
Okay.
It involves nudity, but the human body is a wonderland, Tim. It's just a wonderland. So as far as the story goes, it's a light on story. There's only 12 pages, but I do want to know where it's going. Did you ever read, this sort of reminds me of the idea that this main character is suffering from bipolar, and they're treating him like he's a creature. And I'm assuming, to the author's point of view, that is how they feel suffering from bipolar disorder, is they feel like this is their avatar. This is how they feel physically. Right,
yeah. The appearance of the character is likely a symbolic thing. Right. A fuzzy like a creature, and with a mask on, we can't see what he actually looks like or who he actually is.
Which I think is done it's done well here. It's done well in Emile Ferris has her graphic novel, My Favorite Thing is Monsters. She sees herself as a werewolf child, being a young queer girl in, I think it's Chicago. She views herself this way, portrays herself this way. So I think that's sort of probably also a way to protect yourself, right? You create an avatar, you create a vehicle, and we all do this to some degree, right? We create a version of ourselves to survive the world and the environment we're in. So I think there's a lot of vulnerability in how Thready is portrayed. I think if you're going to write a first issue hook and you're going to have us come back for 6 more installments of Thready, then there just needed to be a little bit more of an empathic connection to Thready. We need to know Thready a little. You need to humanize him more to let me know what they're struggling against. The conflicts that are established in these 12 pages are gastrointestinal.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to have to poop in a car. I get that.
Right.
And to me, I don't know, Tim, if you've ever had the pleasure of abusing painkillers.
Can't say that I have.
Highly recommend it. It's great. But you would also, this reminds me of that. You get very constipated. Even if you have like an injury or something and you take painkillers, you don't have to abuse them. You would have similar sort of symptoms that Thready's having here. So I do have sympathy for him, but I want to know more. I just need a bigger hook. I do think the ending, it did make me laugh out loud without giving it away. This bonding moment gets perverted. It's just, there is a sly humor to this. But like you said, I just want more. So
I wanted more plot progress. And like you said, to know more about Thready. I mean, maybe part of his problem is that he doesn't reveal much of himself to people or doesn't feel like they know him, but it would be nice if we at least knew him better, could see it more from his perspective.
Yeah. He does seem to have a good bond with this character that's driving him around. They're talking about love in the very first scene. I think that's sort of why you give somebody like Thready a companion, is so they have someone to talk to, right? Mm-hmm. That's often why like loner characters are always paired with ghosts or something. It's why Dexter talks to people, his dead dad or his dead sister. These solitary characters need someone to open up to, not just for them, but for the audience to get involved. Mm-hmm. So that's what I would. If there's going to be 7 issues of this, and each one is 12 pages of content, that's like an 84-page graphic novel. Of just the interiors, not all the extra stuff. Although the extra stuff is part of the series, but it doesn't tell you anything about the characters. It just makes you feel like you're bipolar. So that's my advice for the writer: is really make sure in the next edition that we get some sort of insight into Thready, or understand what it's like for him to have a heavy week, or what the heavy week is. Even if it's not really that heavy of a week to us, if it's a heavy week to him. That creates empathy. Like if doing small, minor things is a Herculean task for him, that's good to know, because then it sets the baseline for what's going on with him. What did you think of the art?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I was just noticing, this is really subtle, but only on the last few pages of comic, once he starts scoping out the female character's cleavage, the panel borders become more zigzaggy.
I would say the art in general gets better towards the end. The line work, everything sort of improves at the end. I think the artist is getting warmed up. And the art's pretty consistent. There was just 1 or 2 pages where I thought the line work didn't have a lot of variation on it. And I'm talking about like 1 or 2 pages. I think page 9 is one.
But I wanted to say about the panel borders, the early pages don't have that, so I feel like it must be intentional, and I'm wondering what he's trying to say by making the panel borders more zigzaggy.
Well, I think if you're having an emotional reaction to looking at someone you may have a crush on, that is, you're right. It is there, and it is subtle, and it is intentional. I like that.
Yeah. And who knows, maybe the next issue it gets more pronounced as some emotion builds up. We have to see what happens.
So I guess I just want more. And I also think the female character is probably the best rendered character in here. You can always tell what an artist likes to draw. This artist likes to draw that character for sure. Yeah. Interesting. So I guess my other concerns were, and I look at this like from a teaching perspective because I work with students, and 12 pages is about what a student would be able to put together for their thesis project, right? With all the other classes going on and the time span of a semester, this would get an A+ for me from a student as a thesis project. I guess my question would be, how much time did it take them to create this? For 12, how long did it take to create 12 interior pages? Because Chris Anderson did the cover. If they could do this on a monthly schedule, this could be a great webcomic. This could go up on Webtoons. This could live in an online space. Mm-hmm. If it took them 6 months to do this, they're in trouble.
Yeah,
because they've committed to 7. So when you first told me this, when I first read the email, I'm like, oh, it's 1 of 7. That's a really big commitment. You're assuming an audience is going to come back for 24 pages of content. But they have not overextended themselves. Just 12 pages of interiors is really doable. Mm-hmm. And you can really build an audience from this. So I'd be curious what they're going to do with this. I think they should finish it and find a home for it because the art is good. And I honestly think if it was colored, it would look even better.
Sure.
Right? Like, there's not a lot of shading here. There are some heavy blacks, but there's not like zipatone shading. This style of illustration could be colored really easily.
Right. Yeah. Not a lot of black.
It almost seems like it was illustrated.
Yeah. It looks like a coloring book. It could easily be colored.
And the art's good. I want to say the art is actually pretty good.
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have no complaints about it. It looks fine. I'm never confused. That's always a plus. Yeah, it looks good.
All right. So, deconstruct. What are your final thoughts, Sam? If you were to give advice, we were to sit in a room with Brandon, what would you tell him?
It looks good. It reads fine. I just like a little bit more direction to it. I mean, if it's going to be 12 pages, it needs to tell us a little bit more about the main character, I think. I'm not quite drawn in enough to what's going to happen next?
You're not hooked.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the end just kind of feels like it could be the end. There's nothing kind of drawing me to the next issue there other than this is kind of good. I might want more of this, which is not as strong of a reaction as you want.
Yeah, and to your point, I think some of what they're doing is subtle, like the mimicking the bipolar, what it's like to be bipolar with the ads. The panel, that's a good catch with the panel border, sort of getting a little shaky. For a first issue, you kind of have to be really obvious, really hook them, and then you can show those shades and subtlety later. But a good hook in the first 5 to 10 pages is pretty key.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing it's missing.
Yeah. But I hope to see more. I hope they continue it.
Yeah. Send us the next issue.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Listeners, if you'd like to send us your comic for critique, you can send it to mail@deconstructingcomics.com, a PDF or a link, and we'll talk about it on the show. So, till next time, this is Tim.
This is Jason.
And thanks for listening to Critiquing Comics. I haven't done that ending like that in a long time. Just fell back into an old habit.